Hi, today I'd like to talk about the U.S. Constitution and the Due Process Clause and how it has been abused. The U.S. Constitution is a guide and set of rules that those who govern must follow. Those who govern must follow. It is not just a guide for the citizens of the United States. Legislators, such as members of Congress, do not have a dispensation from following the rules set forth in the Constitution. But today we encounter on a daily basis federal legislators and prosecutors that feel that they do not have to follow the guidance and rules set out in the U.S. Constitution. The most recent egregious violation of the U.S. Constitution can be found in the intentional deprivation of the due process rights of President Trump by the two Democrat-controlled Congressional Committees which instigated the failed impeachment of President Trump. Congressman Schiff and Nadler, the chairman of the committees, decided that no due process was due the president. How can that be? The president is a U.S. citizen, and his due process rights must be honored. Congressmen Schiff and Nadler feel that they do not have to follow the U.S. Constitution when it comes to attacking the president. It seems many congressional Democrats in the House and Senate feel that they do not have to follow the guidance and rules of the U.S. Constitution either. Let's take a look. Then you can decide for yourself. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution states that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment states, no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So the requirements for due process are hardwired into the U.S. Constitution. So what does due process of law mean? Well, the legal experts complicate things by breaking down due process into procedural due process and substantive due process. We will discuss both, but for our purpose, due process is due process. Procedural due process refers to the constitutional requirement that when the federal government and states act in such a way that denies a citizen of a life, liberty, or property interest, the person must be given notice, the opportunity to be heard, and a decision by a neutral decision maker. The opportunity to be heard means that the individual being prosecuted can represent himself or be represented by his attorneys in the proceedings. The concept of a neutral decision maker means that those presiding over the hearings are unbiased. Substantive due process is the notion that due process not only protects certain legal procedures, but also protects certain rights unrelated to procedure. The Constitution and the Articles and Amendments specifically defines many rights enjoyed by the people, such as the right of free speech, religion, etc. Rights that are specifically mentioned are called enumerated rights, but other rights not specifically mentioned, but which are considered fundamental to the operation of the nation and liberties enjoyed by the people, are also protected. These are known as implied or unenumerated rights. The right to maintain your job, earning a living, and not be deprived of it without due process by the government is such a right. Some of the required procedures that due process require are an unbiased tribunal, notice of the proposed action and the grounds asserted for it, opportunity to present reasons why the proposed action should not be taken, the right to present evidence, including the right to call witnesses, the right to know opposing evidence, the right to cross-examine adverse witnesses, the opportunity to be represented by counsel, the requirement to keep a record of the evidence presented, and the requirement that the tribunal prepare written findings of fact and reasons for its decision. The Democrat-controlled House Intelligence Committee and the House Judicial Committee could not be described as an unbiased tribunal. They were biased by their seething hate for the president. The president was not given an opportunity to be represented by counsel during the Democrat-controlled impeachment committee hearings. The president was not given the opportunity to directly present to the Democrat-controlled impeachment committee's reasons why the proposed action should not be taken. The president was not given the right to present evidence, including the right to call witnesses, during the Democrat-controlled impeachment committee hearings. The president was not given the right to know opposing evidence that had been secretly given and sequestered by the Democrat-controlled impeachment committees. The president was not given the right to cross-examine adverse witnesses before the Democrat-controlled impeachment committees. It cannot be denied that the president was intentionally deprived of his due process rights by the Democrat-controlled impeachment committees. Now, what does the term property mentioned in the 5th and 14th Amendment refer to? Again, we have to refer to substantive due process to answer this question. Substantive due process is the notion, again, that due process not only protects certain legal procedures, but also protects certain rights unrelated to procedure. Substantive due process has been interpreted to include things such as the right to work in your job and earn a living, the right to marry, the right to raise one's child as a parent. The Democrat-controlled House impeachment committees wanted to deprive the president from his right to work as the President of the United States, a right that would definitely be protected under the concept of substantive due process, a right that required the House committees afford the president his due process rights under the 5th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The House Democrats controlling the committees knowingly violated the U.S. Constitution. Now, this should make you nervous. If they can do it to the President of the United States, then imagine what the Democrats think that they can do to you. Well, I hope this helps. Have a good day.